No matter how much I want to emphasize that role-playing is about storytelling, I have to admit it's also a game. A game is about having fun. If you're not having any fun, you shouldn't be playing. The problem is that everyone has a different idea of what fun is. Tabletop role-playing is so versatile that it can be played in astonishingly different ways. A fun role-playing game for you might not be a fun role-playing game for other players. 10 years ago, a game designer by the name of Ron Edwards theorized that players can be categorized by what they find enjoyable within a role-playing game. A good game cannot possibly satisfy all categories. Instead, he theorized that game masters should tailor their games to focus on one type of player. This idea is known as GNS theory. Each letter in the GNS acronym stands for a different type of participant. The G in GNS theory stands for gamist. A gamist sits down ready to play a challenging and competitive game. The gamist believes that there is a clear objective for the story, whether it is to slay the dragon or survive a zombie apocalypse. The gamist wants to accomplish this goal above all else. In short, they want to win.
Trust me, kitten, I'm having the time of my life. I won. I won Dungeons and Dragons, and it was advanced.
In an effort to attain a win, gamists often create powerful characters who are capable of withstanding any threat. They will study the rules to make sure their characters have the best shot of survival. In the worst light, gamists are seen as power gamers who bend the rules to make their characters the most effective. An unflattering stereotype portrays them as being competitive with other players in order to earn the title of the best badass of the group. Role-playing games designed for gamists are often combat-intensive. Gamist groups create stories that mirror action movies or video games. Each challenge within is followed by a greater challenge. Meanwhile, little emphasis is placed on character backstory or emotional development. The N in GNS theory stands for narrativism. A narrativist game is built upon the emotions, motivations, and backstories of its characters. Conflicts within the story are designed to test player characters on a deeply personal level. Unlike the gamist, a narrativist player will create a character who may be flawed and emotionally complex. The narrativist will place greater focus on the ethereal details of personality rather than the statistics on the character sheet. Game masters in narrativist games will tailor much of the story to match the characters created by the players. All the conflict within the story is designed to evoke character development. Such a story transcends being a game and becomes a dramatic presentation of the human condition. In contrast with gamist play, narrativist players might purposely fail objectives in order to stay true to their character's personality. Narrativist players have the stigma of taking a casual game too seriously. Such players might be viewed as being too melodramatic or theatrical, losing sight of the fact that it's only a game.
I'm not letting him hug me.
I hug my father!
He has gunpowder in his pants.
I draw my sword! Stay back!
I draw an arrow. So do I.
Troll sound!
Jeff, do you lower your sword?
No!
Dean, are you?
I hug my father!
You're impaled.
The S in GNS theory stands for simulationism. A simulationist game attempts to accurately recreate a particular genre or source material. Instead of focusing on statistics or character, it places strongest emphasis on the setting. Players derive fun from immersing themselves in the game's universe. Simulationist games come in conflict with the other two categories depending on their source material. One popular role-playing game is Call of Cthulhu, which draws inspiration from the horror stories written by H.P. Lovecraft. The characters in Lovecraft's work inevitably meet horrible demises. A simulationist Call of Cthulhu game would thus detail the dreadful events leading up to all the player characters being dead, insane, or morally compromised. A gamist could never win at Call of Cthulhu. Likewise, a role-playing group running a game set in the Star Trek series might adhere itself to Gene Roddenberry's vision that every episode should be a standalone adventure. There was no character development, no conflict between main characters, no protagonists with ambiguous morals. A narrativist might chafe under the strict rules regarding characters within the original Star Trek universe. I've been gaming for nearly 30 years now, usually as a game master. I've known many of the players in my games nearly as long. We've grown up together playing our games. Over time, I got used to how our games went. But when I moved away after so many years and tried to create new games with new players, I was in for a rude shock. Here's what I had come to expect. Alright, so tell me about your character.
Well, 3 decades ago, I was a child genius. My father was a general who secretly used my advice to help him plan war strategies. He would describe the battlefront to me, and I would tell him how to win. It was like a game for me. But one day I told him the only way to win this one battle he had was to sacrifice all of his important pieces. He died on the battlefield that day. Won the war, but I'm middle-aged now and I've never forgiven myself. So I'm drunk, overweight, childish, penniless, but I'm still the brightest tactician the nation will ever know.
I have cancer. Had it all my life. I've had all the treatments. I've been resuscitated in a hospital bed more times than I can count. I could have been a nice person. I want to be a good person. But I'm so bitter my life is so short and other people's lives are so long. There are horrible people out there doing horrible things. Why should they live so long while I die so soon? So bitter that I actually take secret joy when one of these evil men die. And they do die. Gotten quite good with the sniper rifle.
So imagine my surprise when this was what I got. So tell me about your character.
I'm a level 2 elf fighter.
Can you tell me more?
Well, I'm 5'2", 120 pounds.
Okay, what makes you different from other elves?
I carry a great sword. It does more damage.
This is when I realized that different players are engaged in different ways. When I attempted to engage these new players in diplomacy, dialogue, or drama, I would only elicit awkward silence. My players had come to play a casual game of fantasy combat. It must have felt like they had stepped into some daytime soap opera by mistake. They weren't having any fun, and likewise, their style of play was no fun for me. We didn't continue. They were gamists. My games are narrativist. Our play styles were fundamentally different. But if I found narrativist players, everything would work out for the lot of us. So, what do I look for in a game? As a narrativist, the most important thing is your character. I generally look for 6 things in a character. Uniqueness. I want unique characters. You should be able to describe your character without resorting to rules terminology, such as fighter or rogue. Your character is more than the sum of the statistics on his character sheet. In fact, a good player creates a character first, and then decides what statistics are appropriate later. Another pitfall is that your character should be different from you. This is a role-playing game. Play someone who doesn't share your same personality, interests, and background. Complexity. Real people are complex bundles of emotions, motivations, and memories. Your character should be too. I want to know what your character's intentions are and why. I want to know the character's upbringing so that I can incorporate that into my story. This doesn't mean that I want you to write a whole novel about your character. I'd rather explore some of your history during the game. I commonly use narrative techniques like flashbacks to focus on particular characters one at a time. Cooperative play. Work with the other players when you create characters. Build connections between each other. For example, my game is set in 14th century Lithuania. It was the last European nation to give up paganism and become Christian.
Could I play maybe a Teutonic knight who considers it his personal crusade to convert the Lithuanian monarchy to Christianity?
Alright, so how about if I play an elderly Lithuanian mystic who still believes in the old pagan ways? We could all be rivalry and suspicious of each other, but we could end up becoming strange friends.
Appropriate play. This is actually more of a simulations trait, but I really like the characters in my games to be appropriate to the genre. Unlike a strict simulationist, I'm willing to compromise to a degree.
Can I play a samurai in the Lithuania campaign? I've always wanted to play one.
There aren't samurai in Lithuania at that time. Why do you want to play one?
I just like them. I think it'd be fun to play a warrior with a weird honor system.
Well, you know, Mongols attempted to invade Lithuania from time to time during the medieval years. Would you be interested in playing a Mongolian horde warrior?
That would work. Maybe I was stranded in Lithuania after an invasion.
Character development. Something that players rarely think about is how they want their character to change. Most players only know that they want to become better and more skilled. But how do you want your character to change on a personal or emotional level? Sometimes what you want for your character and what the character wants for himself can be two very different things.
I'm playing the Teutonic Knight. He's the last survivor of an army of knights who failed to convert Lithuania. He came to bring salvation to these people, but ended up fighting a bloody war that left all of his friends dead. At the moment, he despises the Lithuanian people for being ignorant heathens. But somewhere down the line, I want him to realize that it wasn't Lithuania that started the war, it was his own people. Eventually, everything he blamed on the Lithuanians could be better blamed on himself. Moreover, I want him to have some spiritual encounters with Lithuanian mythology that maybe challenges his Christian faith.
This kind of question might be one of the most important things you can tell me about your character. By answering, you're telling me what sort of story the game should be about. As a game master, my job is now to make sure that you get the chance to develop the character in the way you described. Reflecting statistics. From a narrativist perspective, the very last thing you do is fill out your character sheet with the statistics that describe your character for the purposes of rules mechanics. By this point, you know everything about your character already. You know who the character is, where the character has been, and what you want the character to become. Your character sheet should reflect all of this information.
I'm playing the Lithuanian mystic. He's an old man, so physically he's frail and slow, probably has poor eyesight, leading to being clumsy as well, but he'll be wise and clever. He believes very strongly in Lithuanian mythology, and he's really skilled in ritual and ceremony.
I'm a game master. Generally speaking, it's my job to orchestrate when, where, and how a particular role-played game is played. My stories tend to focus on character and drama more than anything else. If this is the kind of story that you would enjoy, I would love to have you in my game. I think we could have a lot of fun together. Just remember the 6 things that I like about characters.